Baby, you're right. One thing that I know, it was love at first sight. Yeah, cold, cold being here. Don't you ever worry, I'm right here.
Dude, where'd you get that cooler? All right, here is one more episode on the Bob build. We just got back from a 2,000-mile road trip with this thing where it did great. And if you're new to the channel, want to check this thing out, go to NTD Racing's YouTube channel and then click on the B.O.B Baja Overland Build playlist, and you can see how we did the electrical, how we got the trailer, how we put the awning up, how we got the CVT tent up there. The thing has really been working great, but what we really wanted to talk about today is this beauty right here and how much of a game changer this 80 quart cooler from Newair is. Right now it's plugged into our 12-volt source and it's cranking out some ice cubes. If you're interested in this, you can check out a link. If you go to ntdracing.com, click on store, there's a 10% discount code at our store. Let's go ahead and get to the unboxing and show you how well this cooler works. Hey folks, welcome to NTD Racing. I don't normally do unboxings, but today we're going to open up this box from Newair. They just sent us the last piece of the puzzle for our Baja Overland Build, this 80 quart electric cooler. When Newair sent us this cooler, I started thinking about what I wanted to say about it. I really started reflecting on the whole year and how things have changed in the camping world. If you've been paying any attention, or if you're one of those folks who likes to camp and maybe you're looking for an RV, you've probably seen the prices going up. We used to camp in a bumper pull trailer, and we bought that trailer for about $21,000, and today you're probably looking at about $40,000 by the same trailer. So there's a lot of money going into this market, and it's pushing a lot of people into a more budget-friendly camping experience, and that's where I think overlanding comes in. People used to call it just camping or car camping, and now it's getting really high-tech with this overlanding world. And what is really neat about this overlanding community increase is that the demand for all things overlanding has also increased. And now there's a lot of money out there, which is going to foster newer technologies. And then now companies like Newair, who is known as one of the most trusted compact appliance companies, known for years for their other refrigerated appliances, have come in with this 80 quart electric cooler. Let's go ahead and open it up, see what's inside, and then I'll talk about how we're going to test this cooler. Helper! Let's take just a quick look and see what was inside the box, and I'm going to get more into details as we go, but this is just a quick look at what was in there. First off, first impressions of the cooler. So far, really well made cooler. I'm pretty impressed so far. We're going to put it to the test though. The instruction book looks like the exact same one that you can download off of their website, and I'll put a link in the description below if you're interested in that. So the adapter here is pretty cool. You can take it from 100 to 240 volts, 50 to 60 hertz. So that's going to cover just about anything in the United States or most of the places I've been internationally. And then your output's going to be 14.5 volts. You have your car charger here. It looks like a pretty long cable. I'm just going to guess it's about 15 feet, but I'll take a look at that later on. There's a cable that just is for the adapter, and then just some of the literature here. You have this stop and read, which basically just talks to some of their customer service. And I will say that just my interaction so far with the company, I've been pretty impressed by the culture that must be going on in the Newair company. Here is one quick walk around of the entire cooler. I'll go into more depth on all the parts of the cooler, and then we're also going to talk about how we're going to test this thing. And we're going to put this thing to a serious test to make sure that it's going to meet all of our needs while we're out there in the Mexican desert. All right, so let's talk about the things that I would want to know before buying this thing. This is what would make me pull the trigger on purchasing this thing again. Is one, will it make ice? Two is we have a solar setup on B.O.B. Yep. And it's a pretty simple setup. You can check out how we did it on our other videos, and then also you can see the parts we bought if you go to ntdracing.com and click on store, and you'll find our whole solar setup. But with our solar setup, will it run continuously or will it run the battery out? And then lastly is does it fit into our space in that as far as size, functionality, the things that they put into it, how loud is it, how heavy is it, and those kinds of things. Does it fit into our space and the overlanding rig and all that kind of stuff? How does it fit into the plan? So those are the big things that we're going to test on this thing.
I think with the capability to make ice, at least one person out of a crew, at least one person has to get this Newair. Yeah. You know, so they can make ice for all of the crews that's with them. Because you could farm out the ice to everyone else's Yeti once you've made it.
No, that's awesome. And You know, with that, let's go ahead and I'll show you the test. Let me show you the functionality and how we get this thing turned on, and then how we make some ice with this thing. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the control panel and see all the functionality that it has on there. First off, you got the USB. I'm charging my iPad right now. I love having a USB. We'll take a look at that here in a second. To turn the thing on, if you just hit it, you'll hear a beep, so you know it's working, but you actually have to hold it down for about 2 seconds to get it on. And then once it's on, there's a lot of information that's here. And it's going to lock out in a second also, so I'll watch that happen. But first, it tells us we're in Fahrenheit. It's really cool that it gives us a voltage and a level of our battery. I like that. And then it also tells us what the internal temperature of both the different individual coolers are right now. And then after 20 seconds, you can see it goes into a lock mode. So if somebody came over here and started touching buttons, it wouldn't actually change anything, like for kids or something like that who are definitely gonna be over here trying to touch buttons. And then the secret code to unlock those is you just touch these both at the same time, and then it unlocks, and now you can start changing things again. A couple of the icons across the bottom, you have the mode it's running in, and right now it's running in max. Let's say you wanted to change that over to economy. You touch the gear symbol, that's gonna get it flashing, and then you just touch it again, and it's gonna switch it from economy, and you can go back to max. The other symbol, the H right here, is telling you how much it's protecting your battery. So it's not gonna basically discharge your battery and leave you stranded out in the woods out there. So by holding it for 3 seconds, it's going to get that H flashing. And then now you can touch it and go from low, medium, and high, and they just recommend leaving that in high. Now to change the temperature inside the individual compartments, you just press either the plus or the minus sign over here, and that's going to switch it over from reading the current temperature to flashing to this is what you want to change it to in whichever compartment you want to select. You have your left compartment over here and your right compartment over here. So I select that, I got that flashing, and that's fine over there at 35 degrees. Now if I hit this gear symbol, now I switch over, I can switch back and forth to which compartment I want to change the temperature in. In this one, I just want to be below freezing, because what I want to do is we're going to test this thing right now to see if it'll actually freeze something. All right, let's get to test number one. Let's see if we can make ice. What we have set up here is the cooler sitting out in the sun. So it's actually pretty hot right now. You see this thermometer right here says the cooler is sitting at 91 degrees right now. The water in that bottle is at 77 degrees. We're going to see how long it takes the cooler to cool down, how long it takes the water to cool down, and most importantly, can we make ice? We got a GoPro, a light setup here, we got power over here to keep those things going the whole time, and then this is what we'll be recording it. That's what it'll look like. Let's go ahead and turn on the cooler, get this thing going, and see how she does. So the clocks you see are actually running at about 80 times speed right now, but what you'll notice is at about 1 hour and 44 minutes, the internal temperature of that chamber goes to freezing. It takes 5 hours for the water to actually go to a freezing temperature, but just the way water works sometimes, it doesn't actually freeze. You'll see it go to ice crystals here at about 6 hours and 40 minutes. All right, the moment of truth. Do we have ice in the cooler? Heck yeah, we sure do. This thing is doing awesome. We are gonna have us some margaritas, baby.
There's one thing for me that I wanted to make sure worked, and I think it might have answered it right out the gate, which is, will it keep my acai cold overnight? So here you go.
Awesome, man. So we set this thing up yesterday, and we wanted again to test to see how long it would last. And the math works out. We have a 200 watt system. This thing, they say it pulls 80 watts. We have a 110 amp hour battery. So the math works out. It should run indefinitely as long as you get 10 to 12 hours of sun per day. But we really wanted to plug it in with the solar and see if it actually works. And right now, after running for almost a 24-hour period, everything inside is frozen that should be frozen. It's cold that should be cold. And we still have, it's reading 12.4 volts and a full battery. So, and this is the morning, and this solar panel will be going all day long charging again. So it has proven to us that it can continue going night after night. So what that means to me is I could fill this thing up with all my cold food. I could go deep into the woods with our overlanding rig. I could camp for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and 3 weeks later, my battery will be full and all my food will still be frozen. And that to me is a huge game changer in this market.
Big time.
Big time.
This is winning.
Yeah, we really didn't do anything different. We still had music going, we had lights going. We really put this thing, I think, to the test as far as like functional, how we would use it. We didn't say, okay, let's just see if the cooler will survive. we use it like we normally use it. So
Yeah, no tiptoeing involved. That's a real test.
one thing that really came in useful last night also, as we were out here having a couple Diet Cokes, was the lights. You open it up and there's the perfect amount of light shining into the cooler. So again, some of that functionality just helps it fit into our plan and how we need to use it out there. So
Absolutely. For that last beer of the night.
So it does say in the owner's manual that this thing will put out about 40 decibels. So I checked it, I went ahead and checked it, and if you put your iWatch right up next to the cooler, it's pulling out about 50 decibels, and if you pull it back about 2 feet, then you're right down to 40 decibels. It is whisper quiet. Literally, with the other ambient noises we hear here, we can't hear this cooler at all. And just as a comparison, it is quieter than my fish tank, than my microwave oven, and about half as loud as my 7-year-old.
Oh yeah! Booyah!
I would say like not even half it, but maybe 5%. 5% as loud as that, dude.
Yeah, and the reality is, I mean, it is a compressor just like a refrigerator. You know, it is, the compressor is made by LG, and it literally works as well as your refrigerator at home. And the coolest part about it is you can take this refrigerator that works as well as the one you have at home, plug it into your 12-volt source, and it'll work anywhere. That being said, also with that 110 to 240 volt range, 50 to 60 hertz, I have lived all over the world, and this thing would plug into any outlet anywhere I have lived.
That's pretty huge.
Which is pretty cool. So this thing is international. So if you are, looking at a around the world type trip in your overlanding rig, this thing will work everywhere you want to go if you wanted to plug it in, or it'll just work on your 12-volt source. So we talked a lot about the construction of this thing. And anytime you got a rig like this and you're going out there, durability is definitely an issue. So we wanted to test out how well the handle works with the wheels. And I would say pretty good. You could load this thing up with as much weight as you can put into it, and it's going to work just fine. And then for the parents out there, you got those kids who all of a sudden lose the use of their legs and you need to start carrying them. Well, it'll take your kids just as easily. Or that friend who had too many Diet Cokes, you can also tote him around too.
You probably carry like 3 to 5 chupacabras on top of this thing. Those little monsters, right? The problem is though, once you get good at it, you gotta start charging a ticket. Yeah, there's a fee involved each time you get a ride on Newair. I don't know. Sometimes I just get preoccupied, even just throwing it into the bed of my truck or trailer. I put it in there, I'm like, damn, I wanted the cooler lid to open this way, not the other way.
Is you can take the cooler lid, and once you lift it up in the 90-degree position, you can just go ahead and slide the lid right back out, spin it around, line it back up with that little slot, pop it into position, and it closes. I think a really slick thing. And so now you can be opening it up like maybe inside your Sprinter, while everybody else has access to the Diet Cokes and beers on the other side.
That's a winner.
Really cool design. So another design which I think just totally helps out the functionality of this cooler are the baskets that are inside the cooler. And these things are an exact fit inside the cooler. And the cool thing about this, if you've done shopping for a camping trip, is now you can just throw this in your shopping cart, and while you're going around, once this thing is full, your cooler is full, and there's one in each side. And now you come back from shopping, you drop it in. There's not all that time you got to waste, filling up your cooler. Boom, you're right on the road and ready to go.
Yeah, not only that, it just helps you mentally budget space for what you are purchasing.
Yeah.
At that time. And then the extra cool thing about it is, and the way the war might wage on, which is which do you want more of, frozen or cold section. But what's cool about this is you can make either chamber frozen or cold, right? Any temperature you want. So they could both be frozen. The little side can be cool and the other side can be frozen, or you can flip them, or you can make them both cool. So I think that's pretty dynamic in its own, because then you could basically shop however you want in those ranges, and then you can dial it up and down. I think it's pretty genius.
And just for an example of how well that concept works, we set these things both at about 30 degrees, and right now they're sitting at 33 because we've been opening them up. Yeah. But they hold the exact temperature that you set it on. Again, a total game changer, I think, when you're taking food out, deep into wherever you're going.
Totally.
On your trips. This I think we've set it up to prove the worst case, where we're running one battery. Yeah. We're running a relatively small solar system.
Right.
We're running this thing. We're running the lights at the same time, and it is running indefinitely. Like this thing, a month from now, the stuff inside will still be frozen and the battery will still pretty much be full of charge because it's continually charging. So I think that's a total win.
I mean, all the beer would be drink though, so I don't know what we're keeping cold at that point. I would have eaten all the acai in it too. We would be making ice fairly efficiently.
Like I say in my videos all the time, I will never try to promote something that I wouldn't buy myself again. And this thing, I would say, is a total win. There's nothing I would want more out of a cooler than what we could get out of this thing.
Yeah,
if you're interested in one of these, I am an affiliate with them now. You can find a link if you go to ntdracing.com, click on store, it'll be right there. In that link, you will also get 10% off on this cooler, which I think is a pretty good deal.
10% off?
10% off.
Pow. At least one of you in the crew, Niga Newair. They're pretty rad. I'm excited to go have some iced margaritas. Margaritas on the rocks. That's how I do them. But I think you got a blender special, right?
I do. I have a blender. We can plug it into Bob and fire up some frozen margaritas.
I know how my afternoon is looking. It does cost $26 a year to power this thing.
That's like 2.5 California burritos, which is significant.
Actually, the price of California burritos have gone up.
Really? How much are they?
Like basically 1 Bitcoin each.
Your wife bought me a California burrito yesterday, and I gave her a $10 bill thinking I covered it, but maybe I didn't.
That's my way of saying you owe me a Bitcoin.